Hey, welcome to the Digital Remodeler Podcast. I'm so glad you've chosen to join us today. With me is Kevin Stark Sr. He is the founder of Contractor Envy. And Kevin,
Sir.
it's great to have you on the show today.
Appreciate it, Carl. It's definitely a pleasure to be here, man.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive right in and give a little bit of your background. You've been in the trenches, and now you're helping other contractors get the ball rolling in their business. So let's just kind of take us on that journey, if you don't mind.
Quick journey. I'm the guy that started in the field. Took me some years to, go through trial and error. I started here 5 years ago, believe it or not, making $10 an hour, and ended up, a couple months later, was lead foreman. And then got into my own business a couple years later. And from there, I did a lot of residential remodels from kitchens, bathrooms, basements, full remodels, a little bit of new construction, and then we jumped over to commercial. And that's where, I got to experience where the workforce was really hurting at. And went through some trial and errors there. But, through it all, I know God was just testing me and building up my knowledge. And I ended up finding a job while I was on the commercial side, where literally I was just like, man, I'm tired with this. I'm looking at the app and it's saying $40 an hour. I'm like, no way. As a project manager, no way. I'm a GC, I'm licensed, and went out, applied for the job, got it, worked there 2.5 years. And it was just God's blessing to me to be under, a company that actually had processes and we're doing higher end stuff. I excelled at that for 2.5 years. And I just said, you know what? Is my passion actually working, in these companies and in the field every day with the guys, or is it helping these companies grow? So I immediately worked on, my software and website for over 8 months and said, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this chance of getting into some consulting, because a lot of guys were just coming to me for information and I wasn't charging them anything. So I said, this is actually something I can get paid for, because I do this every single day. And that's what I did. Started
Fantastic.
Contractor Envy. Yep.
Fantastic. So when as you were, making this adjustment, like what were some of the common things people were asking you, so as this idea started swirling in your mind, what were some of the recurring themes that just kept coming up?
The recurring was really the basics of, hey, how do I start my contracting business? Hey, I want to, make more money. How do I estimate? How do I structure my business? And then the technical part, how do I do this, like a bathroom or a kitchen or, something like that. So that's my expertise. I was just born to be a project manager.
Excellent. So now that you've been at this a while, and you just named off three really critical things. Do you find that more of the guidance you're giving is the how-tos as far as the actual work itself, or is it more of the first things you talked about, how to structure, how to project manage, how to, do all of those higher level entrepreneurial business owner type skill sets?
Well, it depends on the client. And I am finding more passion in working with the owners that are already established but need to implement those processes so that they can, grow their business or work on the business instead of in the business. But again, I work both sides because we do a little bit of lead gen and stuff like that too with our marketing. And so I work with the guys as well that's just trying to figure out, how do I stay busy? So it's hand in hand.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so I think if you don't mind, why don't we just kind of dive into a couple of those things a little bit, give some value here to anybody that's listening. One of the first things you talked about was even how you structure, and I
Yes.
think a lot of guys, they know how to do some things. They see an opportunity, so they slap a sign on the truck, or they,
Yep.
get some business cards printed out. What's really the next step? What are the things that you're as you see that sometimes often get overlooked in that initial startup?
Well, in the initial startup, the biggest problem with contractors is understanding what they do. So, like I tell a lot of guys when they get started, and or even if they try to come get work from us, is what do you specialize in? Like, what are you really good at? When you hear a guy that says, I do everything, that's the red flag, and it's like, come on now, you can't do everything, or you will be a general contractor managing. So if that's answering the question, the biggest problem that I'm actually seeing with these guys is that if they're not finding a niche, the other problem is they're doing the work and they're not focusing on actually getting the work. So they do the work, then they go looking for the work, then they do the work, and it's just a constant back and forth.
Yeah, so they're stuck working in the business, but never working on the business. Is that
Never
kind of what
working
you're
on.
seeing?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, good. And then, one things that as you grow, and I'm sure you're talking with some contractors here, they get to the point where they become the bottleneck.
Yes.
They're at that critical juncture. Do they bring somebody in?
Mhm.
Do they hire subs? Some of those types of things. Are you seeing some of that in your consulting as well?
Yes, from experience. You see a lot of owners, they the big thing right now is coaching, right? You can go get a coach and they can walk you through, your problems and that bottleneck. But a lot of times the owner, that's what he needs because he can't identify, right? Um, and the bottleneck, like you say, is typically from the owner just not understanding that it takes processes, all right, to get to working on the business. I worked with one client recently and he said, I said, so what are you using for a CRM or a project management tool? He's like, what is that? So I'm like, you're doing 800,000 a year and you don't know what this software is. And so, that's really what it is the education side. Guys know how to do the work. They know how to get the work, but they don't know how to operate the business to where it's efficient and be home at 5 o'clock.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that we see also in our business is there's a lot of guys that they've actually created a job for themselves,
Yes.
and that's not really why they started the business. And
Yes.
so, a lot of times, I'm sure this is a lot of your conversation, helping them become more efficient, helping them, you know, do something they can scale with. So,
Yes.
so let's kind of talk about that for a minute. When you look at the your journey or the journey of other contractors, you go from startup. In your mind, what's kind of the first big milestone that the contractor's out to achieve?
I mean, for every contractor is to get a job or, book their schedule up. But I don't know if that's, the right step to take. Of course, you want the work, but as one of my mentors taught me, and I mean, this is free game for the listeners, is that you want to build out as many jobs as you can before you even start one. And I think that's the biggest problem with the newcomers is that they jump on the first thing, I start tomorrow, and they forget about what's going to come next month and the month after and years down the line.
Yeah,
Hopefully
so
that answered the question.
that definitely. So in sales, we talk an awful lot about the pipeline. What's in your
Yes.
pipeline?
Hmm.
It's not just the job that's in front of you right now. It's what are you lining up for the next 6 months uh, behind you.
Yes,
So
sir.
here's another question for you. One of the things that we're often working on with our clients is developing a brand for themselves. And I always
Yes.
pose the question: do you want to be the person that just does any kind of work, or
Hmm.
do you want to be the premier remodeler? Do you want to be the luxury remodeler? Who are you in the marketplace?
Yes.
What do you do to, as you're working with these contractors, how do you help them figure out what their brand identity is?
So I got a story that I shared on my podcast. It was a quick 10-minute clip. And it was just about a conversation I had with one of our subs. He was a painter and he was on the job site with no logo, just a white shirt, no logo on the truck. And I'm like, what we paid him was outrageous, but it was worth it because we knew this guy was quality, right? So I just stopped and I asked him, I said, how do you stay busy, especially at a higher level like this, without a logo, without any of these branding things that we teach? And he's like, well, I started with the branding. I started with the logos. That's how I got the business up and going. But then people started knowing me for what I do. He was a painter. He said, once I established those relationships, I never had to worry about just trying to market out to anybody. I had my repeat clientele that always referred me because of, again, it still is the brand, but he kind of mixed the two. He made himself the brand as well. So when I talk to guys about brand, I always tell them first, especially in this field, it's great to have a logo and all that, but people like to deal with you, right? So first you establish you as the brand, and then you build that foundation to where you can start working on the business as you build your team out, and they start representing the brand. So now they know the company and you as well, and hopefully that that grows into, a lot of these guys don't think about selling their business, but for you to step away and your business continue, in the future.
Absolutely. So, what do you feel like are some of the best steps to establish that personal brand? I know, and part of the reason I'm kind of leading into this, I know you've been reworking your brand here
Yes.
over the last few months and putting a lot of thought into the brand.
Yes.
And so, what are some of the steps that a contractor should take to establish their credibility? Number one, as part of that brand, and then leverage into the bigger brand as they go.
With Wichita being so, I'm not going to say it's small, but there's a lot of opportunity in just getting out and networking. All right. So as a contractor, it's about relationships. You can go get the cold calling and the calls that come in as leads, but when you build those relationships with other professionals, they refer you because of who you are. So the big thing is get out, meet people, let people know what you're doing. You gotta go out and let people know what you're doing.
Excellent. So, kind of shifting gears a little bit, one of the dangers for a contractor is to not have their brand known, and now the only thing you have left is price.
Yes.
And I think you would agree, when you get into the price game, it's a quick race to the bottom.
Yes.
So how can a contractor stay out of that whole trap of I've got to be the lowest priced, I've got to undercut everybody? How do you get away from that so that people want you for the quality of work you do, not just because you're the lowest price?
Well, first and foremost, you got to identify your market, your target market at that, because every market is not, every person is not going to give you the price that you set. So when you identify that target market and who you're dealing with, all right, you can start setting your price because they value it. All right. But there's levels to it. You, as the contractor, have to identify what level you're on because every level needs somebody. For instance, we supply jobs for make readies and repairs. But again, I had a contractor tell me, he's like, I can't do those jobs. They're lower quality. And I was like, I understand that. You set your terms. So again, identify your market, set your price, and no matter where you go, you should keep that same price.
Perfect. And then as far as showcasing your work, what are some of your best practices that you encourage your clients that you're consulting with? How do you show off your work to the public out here so they know exactly what you can do?
And social media is it's at the top of the list. I mean, it's so easy to just get some software that allow you to post on all your social media platforms at one time, doing reels and doing YouTube. Those are the things that help you build up the eyeballs, the views, right? But also, I'll be honest with you. I still feel like you should do some advertisements. So not only should you just try to build it organically, put it out there, and I don't know what platform you want to use, but the Facebook ads, the Google ads, put it out there in front of them and get the eyeballs on the work and not just advertisement for this is what we're looking for. Show them the work in your advertisement.
Absolutely. So that brings up a good point. When's a good place for a contractor to start putting some money behind their marketing?
Well, with every company, you got to set your goals, right? So even at the beginning, I think you should have your goals set on, again, target marketing, how you're going to bring jobs in, and then scale from there. So initially from the beginning, you should be putting money into marketing. Some percentage of what you're making should be going back out into marketing and sales. And
Perfect.
then as you reach the different levels, of course, you're going to put more money into the marketing because that means you want more qualified leads.
Absolutely. And then, again, just kind of moving it down the progression, the other thing that I think is critical is knowing your numbers. And that's
Yes.
not just your marketing numbers, but that's knowing your revenue numbers, your cash flow numbers, your profit and loss numbers.
Yep.
What are some of the other numbers that you're encouraging your clients to really pay attention to in their operations?
I mean, the biggest numbers, like right now, is understanding how to work with the spreadsheets, right? So when we talk about those numbers you just said, even profit margins, revenues, cost codes, you gotta know what you're bringing to the table. One of the biggest things we start with our clients is understanding what's your overhead. All right, that percentage that you charge just for overhead, and then what is your man hour cost. All right, so you can always jump into a minimum when you say, hey, I'm taking on this job here, but I know how much I charge an hour per man hour for my guys. And just to clear that up, that includes the overhead costs. Does that make sense? So I can say to, hey, I'm doing this. It's a 3-hour thing, but I charge $125 an hour because that covers my overhead and my man hours. Because as an owner, you're covering insurance, gas, tools, all these other lights, phone, marketing. Those things got to get paid for every call you go out on.
Absolutely. And so looking back at your own journey, what are two or three things you wish you would have known when you got started in your own contracting journey that now that you've got some experience, you've got some wisdom, how could you help somebody else avoid a few of those hardships?
I tell you, I wish I would have understood processes first. I mean, I everything was in my head. I would jump on one app, don't even use it, jump to another app, don't even use it. So processes for sure. And then, man, being on top of the money. When I got into the higher level of construction, understanding that change orders is a part of the business. You lose money when you just say I can, and then also niching. Like, I was really great at, again, being a project manager, but in the field, if I would have just focused on what my hands were good at, I'd be a lot farther. Hey, why didn't I just frame instead of go say, I'm gonna do the whole remodel? No, 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 no. Because now you're learning on the job. All right. You're losing time on the job when you could have subbed it out and made your money off of what you do best.
Yeah, that's good. I especially like that last one. In the marketing world, we have a saying, "The riches are in the niches," and
Yes.
your greatest profitability comes from actually scaling down
Yep.
and focusing on what you're best at. So that's great advice. So Kevin, what things do you offer in your consulting business? I know you've got a group, you've got some other things. Tell me a little bit about what it is you offer and how you can really benefit the contractors out there.
So we got two things that we offer. We offer a community for the contractors to be a part of, to where when they got questions or they're looking for answers, they can come right there to this free group and see opportunity. We got every level of contractor in there that'll help you with whether it's marketing, sales, pricing, even just learning hands-on things like how do you actually remodel a bathroom. Um, And then outside of that, we offer where we're actually started launching this week where we do lead gen. So we get leads in that we qualify and we work with the contractor, not on a pay us for the lead upfront. We work on a percentage base to where we get a percentage of the job, depending on what kind of job it is. It is a monthly fee. We build out their website on our platform, which is a directory, and we promote them only. Since it's Contractor Envy, we're not saying we want you to be jealous of the next man. We want you to be at the top of your game where people desire to have what you have going on as well. So it's not a hate thing. So we deal with selective contractors when it comes down to giving out these leads and working with them and building out their schedules and building out their CRMs and building out their processes.
Perfect. Perfect. So Kevin, if somebody wants to find out more about you, where can they go?
Contractor Envy, man. We're all over Google. Just man, www.contractorenvy.com, contractorenvypro.com. We also have a 800 number, 855 why envy me, so you can give us a shout. You can reach out to us on Facebook. We're heavy on social media because we know that's where everybody is. So simply type in Contractor Envy and you'll see either me or our brand or somebody in our platform that you can reach out to.
Fantastic. And any last comments that you have for our audience? Just a golden nugget, piece of wisdom.
And it's crazy that even just in this 20 minutes, we were able to catch the biggest points. And those biggest points, again, is you have to scale down to understand, how to be profitable. You can't do everything. The guy that jumps around and says he does everything, he's in a learning phase. Once you find out or once you figure out exactly what you want to do and what you're really good at, you're going to see the profits. That's it. Because now you can tweak the numbers. You can watch the numbers. Every job you get is easier to estimate, and then embrace the tools. Like we didn't even speak on AI. I'm an advocate. If you want to implement AI into your business today, you should reach out and follow us because we are at the curve with the AI. When you create estimates in minutes with AI, when you create proposals in minutes with AI, I got to give you this one. I was with a customer the other day. We do large VA jobs as far as the general contracting firm, right? And so I was in with a customer last week and I was like, you know what? How about I record this? Y'all mind if I record it? And they was like, yeah, go ahead and record it. I said, I'm just going to go over everything that y'all talked about in the project and then we'll go from there. I recorded it. It was maybe 7 to 15 minutes. I don't remember. I said, I'm going to take this recording. I'm going to throw it into my software. It's going to transcribe everybody that was in on that conversation. And then I'm going to ask it to create the proposal that would have took me a whole week to do, or a whole day at least. Shoot it in there, spit out a proposal for me. I do my little tweaking. I got this proposal out in 20 minutes. Do you see how much time you're saving? Now, people used to read books. All right. I'm a big book reader. All right. But now with AI and oh man, you could, whatever you're trying to figure out, if you have, as a contractor, I got to say this, as a contractor, the number one skill you must have as a contractor is problem solving. It ain't that you can build a deck, you can remodel a bathroom, you can do all these fancy things. It's the problem solving that makes you great because every job's going to be different. No matter if you do, every job's going to be different. So if you could implement this into your business, meaning AI, meaning software, and you can problem solve and you can kind of see what works this way and that way to cut down your time, you're going to need less people. you're going to keep more money, and you're going to grow a lot faster. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That was more than a gold nugget. That was Fort Knox. So appreciate you dropping that one. So
Man,
Kevin from Contractor Envy, has been great having you. And
thank you.
we're going to post this up and hope to have you back on with us again in the near future.
Well, we're going to go to lunch and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Carl.
You bet.
All right. Have a good one.